Other thing about Belichick.
Yeah.
Andrew Marchand, now of The Athletic, reported, and it was kind of tucked into a story about where Jason Kelce might end up, but Belichick reportedly telling the networks he's disinclined to appear on a regular studio show.
Right.
But he might do something with like Peyton Manning's Omaha Productions or maybe NFL Films. I don't know if it would be, a periodic film study show or something. Whatever he does, though, he really needs to take into account the fact that right now you're going to have a hard time finding a fan base that gets fired up about bringing in Bill Belichick as the head coach. So you got some rehab to do. You got 20-plus years of crusty press conference, standoffish, rude at times that has to be undone.
Yeah.
And you better find a way
Right.
to let people see that side of you
Yep.
that everybody makes excuses for him. And I don't like the idea of people making excuses for adults. Like, I think we all need to be sufficiently self-aware as to whether or not we're acting in a way that is going to be good or bad for our long-term interests. And if you're acting like a complete jerk, you don't need your friends to say, he's like that all the time. It's like, well, why are you his friend then if he's like that all the time? Or, he's only like that in this setting. Get him away from this setting, and he's a great guy. He's the life of the party. It's well, okay, but I never see that.
Yeah,
and if you're going to get fans out there to say, we want Bill when it's time to hire a new coach, Bill had better do some work this year to make those fans say, we want Bill.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I mean, we talked about that, right? He's, the way he treated the media and has acted in front of the microphone, he's done himself no favors, right? Nobody was sticking up for him. Maybe the way you would hear a lot of big-time coaches towards the end of their career, bad spot, right, coming to an end. Yeah, I think, he burned a lot of bridges that way where people weren't going to give him the benefit of the doubt. So I'm with you there. I do think, though, going on TV, doing some of that stuff, like we saw with the 100th year anniversary in the NFL Network and the stuff he did with Collinsworth about the top 100 players of all time. He is one of those guys, right, where I think you get him in the setting and he can maybe reinvigorate a fan base a little bit or get them to go because he's so smart. He's going to say things that a lot of us aren't going to think about when we think about a certain football situation or he breaks it down. And I think if people get to consistently see that and then, hey, he cracks a smile. He's a little bit more like the Belichick we saw early days in New England. Then maybe he can rehabilitate a little bit. I mean, I'm with you. Mike, here's my reasoning of why I think a lot of people, like you said, sweep it under the rug. He acts like this because I think everybody, one, was enamored, amazed about this amazing quality this guy had of being able to just shut out life and really be about like X's and O's, pulling guard, 3 technique, cover 2, Tampa 2, like just all it was. It was like the mad scientist. And I think a lot of people did make, maybe excuses or tried to help him out in that department because they've never seen anybody kind of go all in and immerse themselves to the way, I even witnessed Bill Belichick for a year and a half. And I'm sure, of course, a lot of others there that's, I think, probably the reason they stick up for him there.
Well, and look, part of it, too, and I'm not making an excuse for him.
No.
By saying this, I'm just trying to understand how he became who he is.
Yeah.
When you consider how he was raised on the campus of the Naval Academy,
that's right.
His dad, an ultra old school coach and scout, gruff, do it this way, no excuses, no crybabies. That Bill Parcells attitude, who was his mentor. You take the double whammy of his dad and his mentor in the sport.
Right.
And you get warped into thinking this is the way I'm supposed to be. This is the way it's supposed to go. You're not their friend. You don't get too close to them because you're going to have to cut them at some point. You are the coach, and you are there to get the most out of them. And even if that means being a jerk to them, if that's what it takes to get the most out of them, so be it. Hell, when I played football, it's going to be 50 years ago. When I started playing in grade school, Catholic grade school, the coach, we've talked about it before, one of the reasons I worked so hard is when I was 10, 11 years old, if you're standing around on the practice field, the coach would literally kick your ass, literally shoe into your ass. If you're standing in the wrong place and you act like you don't know what you're doing, grab the face mask and drag you by the face mask to where you're supposed to go. Now, obviously, that would not work in today's world for a variety of reasons. And it's kind of surprising that they allowed it to happen back in the 70s. And I think eventually there was a parental uprising, and that coach made his perhaps not so graceful exit. But that's the way it was. And
that's what he grew up in.
It was a tougher, harder,
right?
No excuses, no fun. Remember the Titans? Remember the Titans?
Sure.
Zero fun, sir.
Right.
Yeah, football's fun. Right? Play football is fun. It's not fun. Football isn't fun.
Yes.
That's
a great
that's
scene.
the mindset.
It is, yes.
Yeah. Zero fun, sir.
You're right, Mike. And add to that, too, Mike, this is where, again, I know you appreciate and respect Bill Belichick, right? But, to a point you make all the time about, hey, you win, you got to immerse yourself. You're at the top of the mountain. People are going to keep coming at you. And to do that, you got to be all in and all about it all the time and live it, right? We talk about that all the time. I think Belichick, more than anyone, did that. And I think that's where people around him found that respect, because I think he won 2 or 3 Super Bowls. Those first 3 Super Bowls, he had a little personality and charisma. But somewhere he got immersed into, wait, we got to stay on the mountaintop. We're going to be the greatest. I'm going to be the greatest. And it started to, sacrifice a smile and a little personality every now and then, because it just continued to go down a wormhole of film watching, dissecting. All I do is think about this. I mean, it's unlike any other human we've seen in the history of the NFL. I think that's what the public doesn't realize about Bill Belichick. I think that's why some of the ex-players are mad about the dynasty a little as well. It's never ends, right? It's the story of, remember the old I'm drooling in myself. Special teams coach Scotty O'Brien, remember him back in the day? I mean, the story, they win the Super Bowl. I think it's the Seahawks Super Bowl. They're on the plane ride back. Scotty O'Brien had been talking about retiring and all that. I mean, it's the Super Bowl plane ride home, and he's going to have a little meeting on the plane and wants to get it done and figure it out, and how many days till you officially tell me, and all this type of stuff. It never ends. It's the day after the Super Bowl, and he is thinking about football and how he's going to win the next one the very next day. And that's where he's incredible. But somewhere in there, he became a curmudgeon, and more of a curmudgeon as the years went on, as he got older. So I don't know where he kind of lost his smile that we used to see more and more in the old days.
It really is amazing to think that he's responsible for the organizational reset button, and he pressed it every year. And he was always that way. Never wanted to talk about last season.
Right.
We forget about last season. We move on to this season.
Right.
And that's what you need to do, because it's easy to get, and the word's not really complacent, because you've already achieved at a high level. Nobody who's achieved at that level could ever be called complacent, but you get satisfied. I guess that's the better word.
Right.
And you don't realize that you get thrown back into the fray with everyone else, and you're the measuring stick. You're the team they're trying to beat.
That's right.
You're the team
Other
that they can't wait
psycho
to see
coaches, right?
fall apart.
Right.
Everybody's gunning for you. 31 other franchises gunning for you. Everything you do, every step of the way you go. I mean, think about it. Their run of greatness came at the largest the NFL has ever been. There were 31 teams the year they won their first Super Bowl. The Texans enter in 2002. They're dealing with 32 teams. Not that it was easy in the 70s, but you're only dealing with 26 teams when it's the Dolphins and the Steelers and the Raiders and the Cowboys running the league. In 76, I believe, 76, possibly 77, but I think it's 76. That's when the Seahawks and the Panthers arrived. I'm pretty sure it's 76.
I'm pretty sure it's 76,
but
right.
32 teams. So 31 others who would love to see you fail. All those fan bases would love to see you fail. And you keep thriving, and you continue to be competitive. It's not like they had a year where the wheels came off. Their second year, they missed the playoffs.
By one
2008,
game.
even though they went 11-5, they missed the playoffs.
Right.
They made them every other year.
Yes.
Every other year until after Tom Brady left.
Right. No, it's an incredible run. And, I know Belichick is tough and all of that, but, hopefully as time goes on, we'll hear more and more positive stories. He's amazing. Again, I can't tell you how many people through the years, great coaches, players, whatever, right? You always hear the stories. They've been around the league. They've been around other great coaches. They go spend a day with Belichick, or they're just signed with the team and it's the first week, and they come out of that first week or few days of being around and shaking their head like, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like him. I've never seen anything the way he dissects. I mean, that's where he's a savant. He is. He's the greatest coach in the history of sports, in my opinion. It fell badly, and now he's got to rehabilitate, like you said. And good for Steven Belichick. He's a really damn good defensive coach, and now he gets a chance to prove, like, hey, I am good. It's not just my dad. He's not helping me out. I can do this too. So, excited for his opportunity, and we'll see where it goes with Big Belichick.
After the wild card round of the playoffs, during which the Cowboys were embarrassed at home and the Eagles were embarrassed in Tampa Bay, there were a couple of days where there was a high degree of speculation and wonder as to whether or not one of those two teams, Philadelphia or Dallas, would fire their head coach and hire Bill Belichick. And because Jerry Jones has spoken so openly about potentially hiring Bill Belichick in the future, that came after the announcement from the Cowboys that Mike McCarthy would be back. There's a vibe out there, and I don't know if you've picked up on this. There's a vibe out there that Nick Sirianni came a lot closer to getting fired than Mike McCarthy.
Right.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.